Hi, guys. I hope everyone's doing well and that you are ready to hear what I have to say. So, when it comes to election time, do you go out and do you vote? Voting is a right that each and every American has, and it's a civic duty of ours to make sure that we do our due diligence and we go out and we let our voices be heard and our opinions be known. Some people go out and they vote every year, every election. They make sure that they're up to date on their registration so that they can go out there, no problem, vote, go home and sit around and watch the polls for the rest of the day. Unless they do early voting, and then they have a ways to go when it comes to finding out results. And then you have some people who they don't vote, whether they used to and they kind of got discouraged and stopped. Maybe the people they voted for weren't winning. Maybe they felt like the views and opinions that they had didn't matter. And that seems to be where a lot of Americans stand, is that, well, why should I go out and waste my time standing in line to vote for someone who either isn't going to get into office, or maybe someone I just don't care to be in office, because at the end of the day, my vote really doesn't matter. And I know a lot of people who really do believe that way. But I'm here to tell you that your vote does in fact matter. Your vote counts. The way that voting works is that normally there's a lot of little avenues that go in. Your votes get tallied. You know, someone wins a popular vote. Some people don't win the popular vote. And just because you win a popular vote doesn't necessarily mean you're going to win the election. But guys, when races are really close, those votes really count even more, because sometimes those few extra votes for that one candidate is what can sway or swing that vote towards, that candidate, and then they win. Your voice matters. You're an American citizen. This is your country, and they are supposed to be there to represent you. And if you're not getting out and voting, then who are they representing? Because they're not representing you if you're not getting out and letting the opinions be known and your voice be heard. And our 32nd president thought that voting mattered so much that he even said, "Nobody will ever deprive the American people of the right to vote except the American people themselves. And the only way they could do this is by not voting." And FDR was really passionate about people getting out and voting, not just because he became the U.S. president, and he held that office, I believe, for almost 4 terms. But he knew the importance of voting, and it seems like the generations that are now our elderly population, they really understood the importance of voting, and that is reflected today. Like I said earlier, the U.S. Constitution has given us the right to vote. We the people, our great U.S. Constitution, which is one of the foundations of our great country. It's really awesome that voting is stated in there. 5 different amendments talk about voting in some form or fashion. And the great thing about that is the U.S. Constitution is where our rights are and lets us know what we have going for us in this country. In 1870, minorities got the right to vote. Minority men. I need to be specific here. So voting was happening a long time before then, but if you weren't a white male before 1870, only white men could vote. So if you were a female or a minority, you could not vote. That's just the way it was. And in 1870, that was ratified, and an Amendment 15 was added to the U.S. Constitution so that minority men could get out and they could be heard, because their opinions mattered, because they are Americans too. And that was a big win for the minority community. They fought for the right to vote. So because they went through all the trouble they went through to make that happen, more people should want to get out and vote. And then in 1920, women finally got that right to vote. So again, we should be out there and we should be voting to be heard, because issues affect women and issues affect minorities and issues affect each and every single American, regardless of race, color, gender, nationality, like where your family comes from. Because some of us, we've been here for a long time, our ancestors, and other people have moved to this country and recently become citizens. It doesn't matter. If you're a U.S. citizen, your vote matters, your opinion counts, and you need to be heard. Who is more likely to go to the polls to vote? Well, in our great country, the biggest makeup of our population is young voters. These are people 18 to 29. These are people who are getting out of high school and entering into college, or maybe entering straight into the workforce. These are people that a lot of the daily issues that our elected officials deal with affect these people, these young people, in some form or fashion. But of the largest part of our population, which are people 18 to 29, only 19% of people are going out and voting. That is dramatically too low, guys. Drastically too low. The issues that really address this age group of people, it's not being taken as seriously as it is maybe for the elderly people who go out and vote in large numbers. Our elderly community seems to go out, and they're the ones who really turn up at the polls and vote, and their votes count because they get out there, they vote. And elected officials are more apt to addressing issues that apply to the elderly community, because they're the ones who go out in the greater numbers to vote. So young people, if you guys want your opinions heard and you want your views and the issues that matter to you the most taken seriously and given more attention to, you've got to get out there and be heard, because it matters. It really matters. According to usnewsmoney.com, retirees have valuable government benefits to protect, which is why they go out and they vote, because it's a way of life. It's how they make their living when they retire. And it seems that in today's society, our retirement communities, they're working even after retirement age because they have to work. Cost of living has gone up, prices have gone up, and so they have to work harder. And there's other issues that involve that. That's why it's important to vote, because these are the people who speak for you and stand up and fight for your views and stuff. It's important, guys. Voting. Who has questions about voting? I'm sure there's questions everyone has about the process. Some people understand the process better than other people. Some people know about the process. But for those who don't, for those who think their opinion doesn't matter, so they either stopped or have never voted, I just want to share a little bit with how to register and what you can do to get yourself ready to go vote, to make sure that your right is exercised as a U.S. citizen. So in our country, you have to be registered to vote. If you're not registered, if you go up to a polling place to vote, they're not going to let you vote, because you have to be registered. In order to register, you have to fill out a voter registration application. And in the state of Texas, it's just like a small card that when you fold it, it's kind of postcard size. But it's pretty self-explanatory. It looks like a lot, but really it's not too much to fill out. It takes less than 2 minutes, and it's going to look a little different depending on where in our country you are. But you're going to answer these questions. You got to make sure that you fill out everything you're supposed to fill out, and then at the bottom you sign it. And kind of like with envelopes that have the glue that you lick or whatever, this has something on top that's kind of sticky, so that when you fill this out, then you fold this up, and right up here you'd fold it over after licking it or wetting it so that it sticks. But as long as you fill this out and mail it in the United States of America, they will pay for your postage. How cool is that? You save, some money. It's not a lot, but it adds up, right? So they're going to pay for your postage. It's free to register as long as you qualify to register. You have to be a U.S. citizen. You have to be 17 years and 10 months old. if you're registering, and then you have to be 18 by the time election day comes around. That's important, guys, if you don't know that. And then on the back, it kind of tells you, qualifications for voting, and then it tells you how to fill out the application. So if you have any questions, it's pretty self-explanatory. And the great thing about these wonderful applications is that these are available in any government office, whether it's the Social Security office, welfare office, or whatever they call it now. I know different programs go by different names. Medicaid, Medicare, Social Security. You can pick this up at libraries, post offices, and courthouses. So, there's many places where you can go to get this. And if you want, you can even register to vote online, the great internet. And then after you register to vote, then they will send you your voter registration card. In the state of Texas, it is postcard size. Again, we really like postcard size stuff. This is what an actual Texas voter registration card looks like. It is a sample, so none of this information is real. That's why I'm okay sharing it with you, but these are actually yellow areas. I had to color them because it's a sample. But it gives your information, your unique identifying number for voting, and a little bit about yourself. But you have to make sure that as soon as you get this card in the mail, guys, that you sign it. It's very important that you do this. If for some reason you go to vote, but you forget your voter registration card at home, as long as you are currently registered and you have not let your registration expire, as long as you have some form of government-issued ID with a picture, you can bring that with you to vote, whether it's your state driver's license or your state ID, or a personal ID card that has been issued by your state as a government form of identification. In some states where you're allowed to have a handgun license, because there has your picture on it, that also qualifies as a government ID that is acceptable for voting. And if you some reason don't have any of those, your military ID cards, citizen's certificate with photograph, or United States passport could work as well. And if you don't have any of those, there are other forms of identification that are government, like government checks, utility bills, but you have to go on the Google and Google in your state's voting qualifications and what is accepted, because it might vary from state to state. Some states have more strict voter laws than other states. Some states you don't have to show ID, other states you do. It's apparently been very controversial. So depending on your state, depends on what qualifies and what doesn't qualify for you to present to vote. So get out there, Google it, see what you need in order to vote in your state. But guys, do your due diligence. Get out there, vote, let your voice be heard, exercise that right to vote, and let people know that your opinion matters. And I'm just going to leave you with something that our 40th president said about voting. He said, "For this nation to remain true to its principles, we cannot allow any American's vote to be denied, diluted, or defiled. The right to vote is the crown jewel of American liberties, and we will not see its luster diminished." And Ronald Reagan really wanted people to know how precious voting was. I mean, he even considered it the crown jewel of American liberties. That's pretty important to me, I would think. And also, once you vote, you exercise that right, guys. Let the world know you voted because you did something. Let them know. So get out there, vote, let your voice be heard, and enjoy your liberties and your freedoms that not all countries have. All right, God bless. Bye.